What if I told you that the most intelligent shinobi in the Hidden Leaf was also one of the most psychologically broken? What if the massacre, the silence, the cold stare were not just the actions of a loyal soldier, but the symptoms of something far deeper? For years, fans of Naruto have debated the choices of Itachi Uchiha, hero or villain, savior or monster, genius or traitor. But what if we've been asking the wrong question? What if the real story is not about loyalty, but about mental illness? Because when you look closely at Itachi's life, you don't just see a prodigy, you see trauma, isolation, emotional suppression, and a mind pushed far beyond its limits. Itachi was not born evil. He was born gifted. A child who mastered complex jutsu before most children learn discipline. A boy who entered the academy at a young age. A shinobi who became an ANBU captain while still a teenager. But genius comes with a cost. From a young age, Itachi was exposed to the horrors of war. He witnessed death before he understood life. He saw blood before he understood peace. While other children played, he studied battlefields. And trauma like that does not disappear. It settles, it grows quietly. Psychologists call it early exposure trauma. When a child sees violence too soon, the brain adapts for survival. Emotions are suppressed. Fear becomes normal. Empathy becomes dangerous. Itachi's calmness was not peace. It was conditioning. He learned that feelings were weaknesses, that attachment created vulnerability, that sacrifice was the highest form of love, and this belief became the foundation of his identity. But trauma alone does not explain everything. Look at his relationships. With his father, Fugaku Uchiha, there was pressure, expectation, pride mixed with distance. Fugaku saw Itachi as the future of the Uchiha clan, a weapon, a symbol, but rarely a son. Itachi carried the weight of an entire clan's ambition on his shoulders. As a child, that kind of pressure fractures the mind. When a young person is forced to carry adult responsibilities, they often develop what psychologists call hyperindependence. They stop asking for help. They stop sharing emotions. They believe only they can solve everything. Does that sound familiar? Because that is exactly what Itachi did. When the tension between the Uchiha clan and the Hidden Leaf village reached its peak, Itachi did not confide in friends. He did not seek guidance. He did not break down. He absorbed it all. The village feared a coup. The clan felt oppressed. And in the center of this storm stood a teenager asked to choose between his family and his village. No child should ever face that choice, but Itachi did. And here is where the hidden mental illness begins to reveal itself. Chronic survivor's guilt. Survivor's guilt happens when someone believes their existence causes harm to others, or when they believe they must sacrifice themselves to save everyone else. Itachi believed he was the only one capable of preventing war. He believed that if he did not act, thousands would die. So he convinced himself of something terrifying, that killing his own clan was an act of love. That distortion is not normal reasoning. It is the mind under extreme psychological pressure. When someone experiences prolonged trauma, isolation, and impossible responsibility, the brain can enter a state called cognitive narrowing. Options disappear. Morality becomes black and white. Extreme solutions feel logical. For Itachi, there were no alternatives, no middle ground, only massacre or war. And so he chose, not because he hated his clan, but because his mind had been shaped by years of suppressed fear and responsibility. After the massacre, something inside him broke completely. Look at his behavior afterward. He joined the Akatsuki. He accepted the label of criminal. He allowed the world to hate him. Why? Because he believed he deserved it. Self-punishment is a powerful symptom of deep psychological distress. Itachi did not try to clear his name. He did not seek redemption. He embraced suffering. He pushed away the only person he loved the most, Sasuke. He tortured him, humiliated him, forced him into hatred. On the surface, it seems cruel, but look deeper. Itachi wanted Sasuke to kill him. He wanted to die as a villain. That is not just strategy. That is martyr complex mixed with self-loathing. A person who believes their death is necessary for balance. A person who believes they deserve to suffer. His illness was invisible because he hid it so well. High-functioning depression is often misunderstood. People assume depression looks like weakness, tears, collapse. But sometimes it looks like perfection. It looks like calmness, like discipline, like flawless performance. Itachi completed missions, spoke gently, maintained composure, but inside he carried genocide, isolation, guilt. He lived with the memory of his parents' final moments. He lived with the screams of his clan. He lived knowing his little brother hated him, and he accepted it. There is a scene where Itachi stands alone, looking at the moon, silent, still. That silence is heavy, because people with deep trauma often withdraw emotionally. They create distance to survive. Itachi never allowed himself happiness, never allowed friendship, never allowed relief. Even his illness, the physical disease that slowly killed him, can be seen as symbolic. The body breaking down, just as the mind already had. He was exhausted long before he coughed blood, exhausted from pretending, from calculating every move, from living a lie for years. And yet, he never complained. That might sound strong, but sometimes refusing to complain is not strength. It is numbness. When Sasuke finally confronts him, Itachi smiles, not with joy, but with release. Because for the first time in years, the burden was ending. He let Sasuke win. He let himself die. And in his final moments, he reached out gently and tapped his brother's forehead. "I'm sorry." Those words carry more than regret. They carry the weight of a child who was never allowed to be a child, a soldier who was never allowed to break, a genius who was never allowed to fail. Now here is the darker theory. What if the village knew? What if the elders understood the psychological damage they were placing on Itachi and used it? A traumatized, hyper-responsible, emotionally detached prodigy is easier to manipulate. Danzo saw his loyalty, saw his isolation, saw his desire to protect the village at any cost. And he exploited it, because someone already drowning in guilt will accept even more weight. Itachi became the perfect tool, not because he was heartless, but because he was fractured. And fractured people often believe they are holding everything together. That is the tragedy. Itachi thought he was protecting peace, but he was also a victim of a system that sacrificed its children for stability. His story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the strongest person in the room is the one suffering the most. Sometimes the calmest voice belongs to the most exhausted soul. Itachi's intelligence masked his instability. His loyalty masked his despair. His composure masked his depression, and the world praised him for it. But imagine, if someone had asked him how he was really feeling, if someone had told him that he did not have to carry everything alone, if someone had allowed him to cry, would the massacre have happened? Would Sasuke have grown up in hatred? Would the Uchiha name still echo with tragedy? We will never know, because Itachi never gave himself permission to be human. He chose logic over emotion, duty over family, sacrifice over self. And in doing so, he erased himself. That is the hidden mental illness behind Itachi's decisions. Not madness, not evil, but untreated trauma, survivor's guilt, high-functioning depression, and a martyr complex born from impossible expectations. He was not simply a genius strategist. He was a child shaped by war, a brother destroyed by love, a soldier consumed by duty. And maybe that is what makes his story so haunting. Because in the end, Itachi did not lose to an enemy. He lost to his own mind. So now I ask you, if you were in his place, carrying the weight of a village, the pride of a clan, and the future of your little brother, would you have made a different choice? Or would the silence have consumed you too?